Hey, do you want to come over and make a pot of tea, bring your favorite crystals? We could talk about our birth charts, spirits, the latest house spells we've been doing. Welcome to the neighborhood. I'm that witch next door. Hello, neighbor, and welcome to another episode of That Witch Podcast. If you've never been here, of course, welcome. And I am so happy to have you here. I'm Danny. I'm that witch next door. And I am going to help you, my wonderful witchy, drawn to the moon, drawn to the stars, the magic of the earth and the energy all around us. I see you. I hear you. I can feel that calling, that pull that you're feeling, and you've probably been feeling for quite some time now. You don't know if it's what you'd call a spiritual awakening. Maybe it is. But there is something you're sensing. It's a connection that you have to the universe. And you might not have all the right words yet, and you might not have found all the right terminology yet, but you cannot deny this pulling, this calling coming from deep, deep within you. So I'm Danny, as I said, that witch next door. And the way that this beautiful, magical neighborhood of mine sprung up in the first place is because I have been exactly where you are. And there are many, many beautiful witches and souls listening to this right now that also have been where you are and also understand that feeling and that experience that you're having. So I am personally very excited that you're here, and I am thrilled to have you in our space where I created so that people just like you who are feeling that and have no idea where to start, no idea where to begin, what to trust, what to pick up, what to leave behind, has a safe place to explore and experiment and learn and connect with other witches as well. It's pretty cool what we do around here at That Witch Podcast and That Witch Neighborhood. So where do we even begin? Maybe you're already calling yourself a witch. Maybe you really like that, but you're not sure if that's what you are or what you would call yourself. Maybe you know that that term isn't necessarily for you, but there is something in the magic, the esoteric, the witchcraft community that you're very drawn to, very interested in, and part of you can feel how worthy it is to follow this little nudge, this intuitive nudge through to see what it has to offer, see what it's all about, see what you might find along the way. Well, I just want to welcome you to the magical community in general. There are many, many faces here, and some are bright and warm and friendly and welcoming. Some are really, really cold, and they don't necessarily mean to be. Some are very purposefully cold and unfriendly and really try to make the sanctity and the sacredness of witchcraft and magic into this almost high school clique. You might not be able to sit here with us until we get to screen you kind of vibe. That exists in this community. And just so you know, it, in my opinion, exists in every single community because that's just the type of person and people, coming together and creating that vibe and putting it out there. It has absolutely nothing to do with magic. That's just a human thing. But there are people like me who are really excited that you're here, because the only types of witches and mystics that tend to really, really stick around with me and in my neighborhood are the people that are willing to do the actual work, the people that have spiritual ethics and responsibility about them. And anyone that uses witchcraft or magic to take advantage of other people or to harm other people or to try and like scam or find every single shortcut in life humanly possible to them, you'll find that those kinds of people don't really stick around my neck of the woods, because I don't really have anything to offer them. And that's how you know, first and foremost, that you're in a safe, friendly, but also trustworthy place as well, with a teacher, with a guide. You can look at me as your magical mentor of sorts that takes all of this seriously and is very intentional about the energy that we keep around here. So you can feel very safe and welcome and comfortable here. So first and foremost, what is witchcraft? Well, it's much, much more than just, hey, is there a spell to do this? Is there a spell for this? It's okay if you're seeking magic for help and assistance, but there is so much more to witchcraft than just spell work. And there's so much more to spell work than just saying you're a witch. It's not that witchcraft and magic are these like terribly complicated practices that you have to have a certain intelligence level for or something like that. This truly is, in a way, open to everyone. And the only reason I say in a way is because, again, you'll find that the practice doesn't quite fit for the people that aren't willing to put in the deep soul work that this type of lifestyle really requires in order for you to get anything out of it. And so naturally, this practice, this lifestyle, along the way will shed many, many people. And maybe they were drawn to it along the way and they practiced it or dabbled in it for a while. But you'll find that there are a lot of people that found something scary, or they'll call it evil, or and it doesn't even have to be that. It could just be a person that says, I don't know, I can never really get into it. It didn't really fit for me. All of these things are okay. And I don't want the experienced witches out there to be like, it's not, the fear mongering around witchcraft is not okay. No, I don't believe in fear mongering of any kind. But I am okay with anybody who doesn't get this work and doesn't put in the time and dedication to get and understand this work, not wanting to do it anymore and not being a part of it anymore. I'm definitely okay with that. Don't participate in it if you don't get it. That's completely fine. And the more neutral and open we can be about these kinds of concepts, this is how we really do truly coexist with each other. And this is spiritual freedom and spiritual autonomy. You'll find that if this practice and lifestyle means so much to you, it will feel like, everybody should do this. It's amazing. But it's okay that it's not for everybody. And it's okay that we all find our own unique cosmic or spiritual language to navigate this earthly experience. So if you are drawn deeply to this and you're really dying to know, what is it that I need? What are these things? Maybe you've picked up a book. Maybe you've listened to another podcast. Maybe you've been seeing a lot of videos on social media that show all these tools, and they'll call things like beginner. This is for beginner witches. And they show all of these items and things like, and you're probably asking yourself, what are the things that I need though? Do I need all of those things? You need none of those things, actually. This is one of my favorite parts about teaching witchcraft and magic to anybody. You don't need any of those things. We'll get to all of those things actually toward the end of the episode. When it comes to what you do need, I will say there are things that you need. You do need some things. Let me check my list, though. None of them are physical, though. None of them are physical, except for your own body and whatever form it is in. You do. Witchcraft is hugely conceptual, but it also directly connects to our physical body and our body is like the bridge, okay, between the physical world and our conceptual worlds, like the astral world, our dream world, our intuition, our emotional world, et cetera, our soul body, et cetera. Your body, your physical earth body, is the bridge between the spiritual realms and the physical realms. So it doesn't matter what your body is as long as you are in it. While you're practicing witchcraft. That's the only physical thing that you need, okay? You could wear clothes or not clothes. Even that would be up to you. You just need you. You need your mindfulness, your intention, and your trust. I went through this list a lot of times, and I'm very confident in it. This is what I would say you need to begin in witchcraft. Just you, your mindfulness, your intention, and your trust. Let me elaborate a little bit on these. So I already explained why you need your body. It's the bridge between the spiritual and the physical realm. You'll use your body in many different ways. But because it is this bridge, and if you can think of your body as that, this conduit, this bridge between the spiritual and conceptual and physical realms, you will develop a very trusting bond with your body, and you'll get much better at listening to it. Because again, if we think of it as this bridge, you could also think of it as a liaison of sorts, this translator between the realms that translates the spiritual languages of the spiritual realms to the physical realms and their language, and vice versa. Okay, so that's why you need your body. You do need your mindfulness. And this one right here is one of the biggest security measures for the witchcraft community. This is not to say that there aren't practitioners that don't fall into mindlessness. This is definitely not to say that there aren't practitioners who use their knowledge and power to bring harm. It would be a lie to say that that's not true, and it wouldn't be very helpful. I still believe so firmly in my bone of bones, my soul of souls, that the sheer numbers of practitioners that are practicing with true mindfulness outweigh and outnumber the mindlessness and the harmful use of the craft tenfold, if not 100-fold, if not more. I also believe that the mindfulness type of magic in and of itself is already stronger and more effective. So even for every one mindful practitioner, you would need, I don't know, these are hilarious statistics that my intuition's just spitting out right now. But it would be like, you would need at least 10 mindless people, more like 50. Mindless, totally self-centered, for self-gain use of any practice works itself out in the universe, whether in the immediate or in the long-term future. Earth and our universe figures out how to rectify anything that is causing so much destruction, it could potentially turn into true destruction of the entire whole. Even in just the theory of evolution and how much our Earth has been able to do and adapt through is enough evidence to give me a lot of confidence in believing that. So I go into this so in depth because it's human nature to hear the stories and the experiences of the bad seeds and really do think that the whole bunch is poisoned, and you could potentially get poisoned just from learning about, let alone participating by yourself. You are not going to get permanently poisoned by a bad seed just by coming into contact with them, learning about what they do. Hell, there are lots and lots and lots of witches that I know, especially those that started working the craft at very young ages and were teenagers as witches, that have used their magic for something that does not align with them morally or does not align with their ethical values. And they do the inner healing work and reparation around that. So like, I want you to know that this is in and of itself a neutral, if not peace leaning practice and lifestyle in the vast majority. There are so many effective, ethical, responsible, safe ways to use this practice, and easy too. That's the best part. Practicing safe magic that's safe for other people and safe for you, fucking easy as shit. And if that's interesting to you, you have found yourself in the right place, my friend, because this is what I teach around here. And you are an evolving being. And if at any point anything you are doing is not aligning with you and your values, you get to change your mind. You get to say no to this and yes to that, or whatever you need to come into that moral alignment for yourself, okay? The tools themselves in all of life are not evil inherently. It's what the user does and conducts with the tool, okay? Witchcraft tool. You, conductor. All right. Now, here's what I would say. So that's all you need. Oh, wait, sorry. Your intention and your trust. These kind of go together. The last two things that you need, your intention and your trust. Your intention, one might call your will, the purpose, the direction in which you aim your energy or your desires, right? Those things that we hone in and focus on, and we say we're manifesting or attracting or calling in. All of these different words that you hear in the spiritual communities. Your intention matters so much. One of the biggest reasons people say that this lifestyle doesn't work for them is because they never really hone in on their intentions. And they're just constantly like, I don't know, I am hoping things get better. That's not addressing most things. That's just like putting a blind petition out there. The more specific your intention, the more this means that you're doing your own inner work to understand why this is your intention in the first place, what that means if you do receive this intention you've set your sights on. You've done all of that work around that, which is mindfulness in the first place, okay? This is why this is all kind of in order, honestly. You need your body, you're the conduit itself. You need mindfulness. Mindfulness is cultivated in that conceptual physical bridge that is the body, in connection with the body, okay? And then that mindfulness paves the way for pure, effective, intentional intention. I'm really saying that on purpose to just emphasize that. I mean, that's how much care and dedication and mindfulness should be in your intention. And finally, trust. You need your trust. If you truly don't believe in yourself at all, and you don't believe in any kind of greater power or connection, you don't have to call that universal power or connection God if you don't want to. You don't have to call it goddess if you don't want to. You can just call it energy. You can just call it the universe. You can just call it magic. Some people call it divine love. Some call it source. Some call it spirit, creator. There are Gaia. There are and I'm stopping so early. There's so many different words for this. If you don't have a true belief in that something greater, then, and again, simply believing in energy, even on a scientific level, that's plenty. That's enough. But if you really don't believe that magic is possible, I'm just going to be blunt about it. It's not going to be very effective for you. It's okay if you struggle with that belief. That's okay. If you experience doubt, it's okay if you experience a lot of doubt. But there is a complete difference between being open to something and experiencing doubt and being totally and completely closed off to something, and as closed off and guarded as you possibly can about something. So yes, you do have to believe. There has to be some sort of trust in yourself, trust in the universe, or any other label that you want to call it. I do firmly believe that. Now, that's what you need. That's what I would say you need. That's the true list. But here is a list of what I recommend to start building a strong foundation if you are really serious about wanting to build a witchcraft lifestyle, and like, what does that look like to live as a witch? Where do I even get started building that foundation? These are the things that I recommend. Starting with first and foremost. Number one, as much information as possible. Books, blogs, social media pages, magazines, more podcasts, as much information as you can get your hands on. Yes, listen and see what feels right for you. Let your intuition guide, and also let your logic center do its work and skills as well, and do some digging on people and go and look and see if you can figure out their ethics. This is one of the biggest problems in the spiritual community as a whole. This is bigger than witchcraft itself. We have one run-in with someone. We see one social media post, something where it just like this one thing super, super, super resonates with us. And we just sink our roots and our hooks into that person. And we haven't done any kind of like looking back at what do they normally post? What is the overall vibe of the message that they get through? I believe in the sanctity of privacy and not having to put everything out there on social media. But I also believe that if you're putting yourself in a position like I am, where I'm offering services, paid services and content to educate you about this entire sphere, I also believe that you should be relatively transparent about at least how you morally live your lifestyle. Especially in an age where it is wild how accurate already AI has become and is developing. Number one, do your digging to make sure that people are real human beings and not scammers and not bots. Follow a variety of pages and look at who they follow too. That is a huge, huge way to find popular people, see kind of who endorses who. It's really a helpful way to find and build your tribe, your community. And you also want to diversify your information avenues as much as possible, because there really is no one set collection of like rules or guidelines. Like witchcraft is so much more broad than that. People that are brand new think that it is a much smaller umbrella than it is, and it's actually like giant. And a lot of it is just like straight up unregulated, which I'm fine with. I'm fine that witchcraft in a lot of ways is the wild west, but you do have to take responsibility for your own education and make sure you're diversifying that. You're not just globbing on only to one person. Do not only listen to me. Do not. I try to say this relatively frequently in my content. I try to encourage you to find other astrologers, find other witches. The more you diversify the avenues in which you learn about witchcraft and spirituality and divination and astrology and tarot and anything within this world, the better you're going to be at it, the better you're going to understand it, the more effective you'll be at developing your own spiritual language, and translating what this all means for you. A lot of us step into the spiritual community and immediately are like, I noticed a sign. I'm noticing this number. I'm noticing this symbol. This color keeps following me. I keep hearing this name. And we look and look and look for meaning and for someone to approve. Like, is this what this message means? And the best way is to just learn how to do that yourself by learning as much about everything to do with modern witchcraft, modern magic, modern spirituality as you can. And practicing trusting your intuition. Okay, we'll continue going on there. But as much information as possible, the better it ultimately is building your intuition. My next top recommendation is for sure energetic basics. So I like to call this energetic hygiene. You'll hear me refer to it as that very frequently, but the energetic basics are grounding, cleansing, and protecting. You'll hear me on my show say a lot, ground, cleanse, and protect. Ground, cleanse, and protect as like a little threefold ritual. This is one of the most important. Each of these in and of themselves is a type of magic, is a type of energy work. You'll notice that grounding, cleansing, and protecting, none of those belong exclusively to witchcraft. All three of these practices are practiced in like infinite ways around the globe, throughout different cultures, different practices, different belief system, have been throughout history. Okay, so around here, I do a lot of focus on visualization type energy work. And in witchcraft, we do a lot of working with physical tools that represent energetic types or intentions like grounding, cleansing, and protecting. And there's a lot of using your body, that bridge or that connection, that conduit, to do this type of energy work as well. But again, you'll find that the more you learn about grounding, cleansing, and protecting energetic basics, because we're energetic beings and everything is energy, cultures and people across time and space have been developing their own ways and practicing their own ways of working with and through that energy already. So when you are really, really, really upset and you know that you need to purge that in your journal for a few pages, you're doing a cleansing ritual when you do that. You're purifying, you're getting out some energy that you know you need to release. So again, there's already tons of ways. You're probably already doing this. We'll focus on those ritualistic, tool-based or symbolism or visualization-based type of energetic work. Shadow work. You've probably heard a lot about shadow work, or you've probably at least heard the term shadow work a lot, and there's a very good possibility that you're not sure exactly what that means in the first place. Number one, I have a very good, thorough episode on getting started in shadow work not that long ago. I will link it in the show notes below. It is very, very, very helpful. So I'm not going to go too into depth in this episode since we have that. And actually, I have 2 episodes on this, and the former is linked in the one that I've linked in the show notes. So there's lots of information here in the neighborhood alone about shadow work. But shadow work is, when we talk about the shadow, most people are referring to the term that was credited to Carl Jung, who was a psychologist and also an astrologer and very spiritual, and blended the practices of psychology and spirituality together. And Jung theorized that our shadow is a part of our unconscious self and is the parts of us that went through trauma, tragedy, any kind of experience that we inferred or rationalized as negative, and we coped with it in some way that formed part of our shadow. This could be in the form of an unhealthy coping mechanism, shutting a full-blown part of ourselves up and in total shame or self-hatred. They're the parts of ourselves that we feel very, very shameful or embarrassed about, or very angry with, or downright afraid of. And we kind of keep it locked away in this corner of our psyche. And so long as we do that and we keep this shadow self completely separate from our whole self, that part of our unconscious will remain in the driver's seat, and those unhealthy coping mechanisms or responses will continue having a hold on us, because those are what Jung called projections of the shadow, which are actually the shadow's unconscious way of lashing out for help and begging to be integrated for whole self-actualization. So, shadow work and examples of shadow work activities in a nutshell is truly any kind of personal development practice, any type of inner wound healing, self-reflection, and diving deep into your past, your experiences, your wounds, the images of yourself that you really hold as negative in your mind, looking at the things that you really find undesirable about you. One of the best places to start is what you find super repulsive in other people as well. we're all mirrors for each other. So that can also be a good way to start. But it's any type of self-awareness practice that looks at those things, processes through them, brings them out into the light, so to speak. And it's not about removing the shadow. I try to say this over and over and over again. It's not that you're releasing the shadow, you're releasing any unnecessary energy, including negative energy, that shadow has been holding on to. But you actually embrace that part of yourself. Again, this was Jung's theory, was true holistic self-actualization. That means true embracing of every single part of ourselves, understanding that every single part of ourselves in our experience had or has some sort of purpose in our life. And we get to embrace that about ourselves. Again, as you can see, I could go on and on. We could go in for 3 freaking hours about this. So show notes for shadow work. It's necessary to witchcraft work. Why? Because it is a huge, huge, huge piece of the list of things that we need. You need you, your body, your mindfulness, your intention, and your trust. If you don't do your shadow work, those things are essentially impossible to truly get on board. You might be able to get on board with a couple of them, maybe 3 out of the 4 on the best day. But as long as you are truly not doing your inner work, this practice, magic, will not work for you, period. And I don't care how, if someone wants to call that gatekeeping, fine. I don't call that gatekeeping at all. That is the fact of the matter is, this type of work requires as much mindfulness as possible, as you have the capability of being in at any given time. And keep in mind, even as a witch who's been practicing for a long time now, again, when we look back, there are times I've been a practicing witch that there are things I've done or things I've believed or tried out or practiced that I'm not, or things that I was doing in my regular ass life that had nothing to do with magic that I'm not fucking proud of. That's okay. I will say, though, that it has been quite some time now since I finally learned the necessity of my mindfulness, my intention, and my trust in order for magic to be effective. And when I am out of any of those things that I need, my magic is ineffective. That's what I mean. That's why it's not gatekeeping. It's about efficacy, quite frankly. Now, this one also could be potentially a little controversial, or it might just make you feel a little nervous, a little anxious, especially for anybody like myself that struggles with social anxiety. And there's lots of different types of social anxiety, but I do believe that you need community. I do. There's a reason I started community with my free content and just who I am on social media and the podcast, but also my actual online witch school, which is a community that I physically created. I did that because that's how much I believe community is a pillar for a strong foundation in your witchcraft lifestyle. Now, do not confuse the word community with coven. You don't have to be a part of a coven. That's totally fine. Some people are. That's also totally fine. But even as a solitary practitioner, you need other people. We are not born onto this earth literally alone. We are born, and especially if you chose this particular lifetime, you chose to be born amidst, 9 billion fucking people on our planet or something insane like that. There's evidence all around us that we are connective creatures and beings, and we definitely need to find our people. And I know that can be scary, and I know that can be hard. I know that firsthand more than you know. And I know how important it is. And it's worth how hard it is to do that. I was just telling my daughter, my 5-year-old, wonderful, the sweetest, most pure, innocent kindergarten daughter. God, isn't kindergarten such, I love this age. I was telling her, I was like, she was mad at me because I really hit it off with this awesome mom at her school of another kid in her class. And we were chatting for a little while after school, barely, by the way. It was like seriously 3 minutes. But again, in kindergarten land world, that was like 30 minutes. And she was mad that when we walked out, we didn't walk out with her other friends because the mom and I had stayed back talking. So she had missed getting to say goodbye to some of her friends. And I was telling her, if you don't already know, I moved halfway across the country last year. And my husband and daughter and I are brand new to our community, just shy of a year here, just shy of our first year. And so we're cultivating community from scratch. We don't have any family out here. And I can't say any longer that we don't have any friends out here because we have been building a wonderful little community out here and we are making friends now. But this was really important to me. And I was telling her, I was like, listen, like, we do a lot for you, man. I didn't say it like that, but you know what I mean? Like, man, I make it such a priority for you to find friends and support your social network. And I want you to know and see how important that is for mom. I want you to see how important that is for dad. I want you to understand that friendship and community is so important. And I, just like you, I have to also make time for that. So, sometimes mommy's going to stop and chat with somebody, or I'm going to have a play date where I talk more with the mom than I'm playing with you. We had this good conversation about it. And it's such a good micro example of what I'm talking about. I was communicating this to my daughter in such like a pure way. I was trying to genuinely teach her in that moment why friendship is important, why connection with other people is important. And in and of that self, I can apply that entire concept and lesson here for you. And we know this to be true. But we have a lot of fear. We have a lot of wounds. We have a lot of experiences that we've been through that just flat out make it harder to make friends and community as an adult than it was when we were kids. And that was ultimately what I ended with telling my daughter. I was like, listen, this is one of the areas you actually have a leg up on me. And because it's so much easier for kids. And by the way, it was the sweetest thing in the world. But her response was, first of all, she was like, really? It is? She thought that was so cool that there was something way easier for kids than grown-ups. And I was like, yes. And she goes, Mom, I'll teach you. It's so easy. She said that, I'll teach you. It's so easy. All you have to do is you go up to somebody and you say, hi, do you want to be my best friend? And then they will. And then there you go. And you're done. It was the best. Oh my God. She was so honest. Like she meant every word of that. It was the sweetest freaking thing in the entire world. Oh my God. So take it from me, how important building community is. There's a reason I was communicating this to my daughter. It's a cup I want her to know how to fill, which means it is just as much of a cup that needs filling in me and in you. And also take it from my daughter, it does not have to be as terrible as it feels inside for those of us that really struggle. And I know there's a lot of us here, that don't have a very strong physical community, at least when it comes to witchy or spiritual friends. I think that there is a good amount of us that have at least started building like a really awesome online community. And if you haven't already, I'm dead serious. If you're interested in this amazing school that I run, my online monthly membership, it's one of the best fucking witchy communities to be in. And I am not just tooting my own horn. That's how much I absolutely love the people in my community. So just throwing that out there. There's some contact info in the show notes if you need to ask me any questions about that. But there are those of us that have been creating some online community, some virtual community, and that can be a beautiful first step. And take it from me, somebody, how many things am I asking you to take from me today? Someone who is in the middle of creating brand spanking new physical local community around here, you got to look up local events. Even if they're a tiny bit of a hike away, can you set aside time in the future to go to that shop? I used to be so nervous to go by myself, and I would wish so badly that I had a friend to go with me. That's normal when you're just starting out. I will say, now that I'm more comfortable, I love getting to go with a friend, but I love my little solo trips, getting to venture out to a new crystal shop or metaphysical store. I just bought tickets to my first psychic fair out here that I'm really, really, really excited to go to. And I wish I could go back and tell my beginner witch self, and this is exactly why I'm giving this to you and to anybody else who's not beginner but is like me and needs this reminder. Do it. Get online, get on Google, get on Facebook. Facebook was a great place for looking for events. Google's a great Google Maps and searching metaphysical stores or new age stores. Those are at least great places to start. Even if you don't find the store of your dreams that you love, sometimes that's how you find your next reader or the next person that is hosting their podcast or hosting an online workshop or hosting a ceremony circle or full moon yoga. And yoga studios are another good one, actually, to also look there. That can be a great place to open up yourself for connections. You can look things up like sound healing, aura photography, crystal shop. These types of words that you search are commonly searched, and they're often associated with at least places that host types of events like that where you can potentially meet somebody. And if you don't have anybody to go with, don't necessarily let that hold you back from going. I used to struggle with that as well. You're not alone. But there is something sacred in going alone. I know you're like, you just said I'm not alone, but you're not. You get to be in this sea of people. You get to do all the people that watching that you want, have nice, casual, brief conversation. You could have zero conversation. It could just be an observing thing and putting your energy out there. That's one of the beautiful, beautiful things about spiritual events and spaces. Magical things happen when you open your heart up to intentional, quality, magical community. You already found yourself in one right here. So, the last thing I highly recommend for your strong foundation in building your witchcraft lifestyle and practice is some form of documentation system. Many people will tell you you absolutely need a book of shadows. You'll also read you absolutely need a grimoire. No, you don't. You could just use a journal. You could just use, it doesn't, First of all, the truth is that whether you go with traditional types or inspired practices or very modern practices for documenting your entire journey, the key is consistency and regularity. You want to document as much as you can of the journey. Even if you're not a person that goes back and reads your journals or goes back and watches your vlogs or voice note recordings you left, the fact that you made it in the first place crystallized that moment for you. It marked that moment for you, and that does something in your subconscious. And if you can't already tell, that bridge between your unconscious and your conscious matters a lot in energy work and witchcraft and magic. So any form of documenting, you can call it a book of shadows, you can call it a grimoire, it can be your journal, it could be a notebook. It doesn't have to have a title at all. You don't have to use a pen. You could use a stylus. You could use a keyboard. You can just use your voice. You could videotape yourself. There are a billion beautiful ways to document your journey. take pictures, make a scrapbook, make a digital scrapbook, make a mood board. There are loads and loads and loads of ways. And we are going to do an episode soon about really go into depth about the Book of Shadows, about the sacredness of the documentation system. But for now, just get started. And if you're like me, you can use a little bit of all of those ways. It's ridiculous how many notebooks and journals and voice notes and little typed notes that I have. I have digital journals. I mean, I have a million. And again, they all serve the purpose that they serve. It's the consistency, it's the regularity, it's the fact that I'm pausing to stop and make note of an experience that makes that practice efficient and overall builds such strength in your witchcraft foundation. All right. Now, I did say that I would briefly talk about the tools, right? The tools. We're so concerned about the tools. But Danny, the episode's almost over and you haven't talked about crystals and you haven't talked about plants and herbs and you haven't talked about tarot and astrology really. Yes, because all of these things require each their own episode. And honestly, you could run a series of episodes on each one of those tools. Here's what I will say. All of these, your archetypal practices like reading tarot and learning astrology and working with mythology or dream work or the arts and all of these crystals, plants, and herbs, working with animal spirits, kitchen magic you've probably heard about, home magic, death witchcraft, cosmic witchcraft, deity worship, working with other entities like spirit guides, angels, demons, the fae, dragons, unicorns, mermaids. All of this is adding flair. And I don't mean that in like an unnecessary way. I mean in like a personal customization type of way. All of these are just unique, different types of practices that you'll either be drawn to or not really drawn to, and you'll either practice them or you'll try them and not really want to, or you'll never try them because you don't really want to. And this is what adds flair, that personal chef's kiss. This is you. This is your mark. This is your unique signature on your witchcraft. That's why you might call yourself a kitchen witch. You might call yourself a green witch, a cosmic witch, a death witch. I call myself all of those things, by the way. I call myself an earth witch all the time. I call myself a water witch or a sea witch. I am all of those things, and I am witch. And if you took the word witch away and made it never exist, I would still be all of these things, because those parts of magic that you're drawn to are the unique aspects of your personality and who you are, especially in this life and quite possibly beyond this life as well. And so try these different things. I teach about tons of these things. There are hours and hours of content free right now at your fingertips while you're listening to this podcast on all kinds of these things that I've taught about and I'll continue to teach about. And I am just one. I'm one little drop in the bucket of a beautiful, beautiful sea of magical witchcraft mentors, guides, and teachers. And those are the good ones. Those are the good ones. Do you have to wade through some that don't really fit or not really good ones? Sure. Again, any industry, any community, of course you're going to have to. But there are loads and loads of goodies, of the good ones. And the best thing you can do is keep learning, is go back to that very first foundational recommendation I had, which is start learning, diversify that as much as you can. And for those of my intermediate and advanced practitioners out there, sometimes it's not that you're feeling disconnected from your magic. And we feel like it's been so long since I pulled tarot. It's been so long since I looked at my astrology, since I did a ritual, since I tidied up my altar. Sometimes what we've actually been missing is being the student again. And going back to that first foundational pillar of educating ourselves, seeking more and new information. I myself have had this happen lots of times. And I can speak from experience that sometimes the biggest stagnancy I'm feeling has nothing to do with the fact that I haven't done a ritual in a while. It's that I haven't learned anything new. I haven't sought out any new information in my spiritual practice at all. I haven't done any exploration. So this is just as much a reminder for you as any of our wonderful newbies here. Again, remember, ultimately, educating yourself, checking in with your own spiritual ethics, your own morals and values, practicing safely and responsibly by checking into who and what you're getting your information from. That mindfulness, that intention, and trust is going to carry you a very, very long and exciting way, my friend. And I'm here for you. I'm just right next door. This is exactly what I do for a living. I am a witchcraft and astrology mentor, and I have got to work with so many incredible clients who have also wanted help learning, how do I fuse this into my life and utilize this practice to better my career, to work on myself, to achieve what I'm going for, to feel authentic, to feel fulfilled and purpose-driven, and like you're utilizing your potential. I work with people just like you, and it is something I love and have the absolute honor and privilege of getting to do. So if you love what I do here, if you've learned so much from me, you can only imagine what it's like inside that witch school, which is only $30 a month for full-time student access. And if you're ready for more than that, if you know that it's time, that you've found your witchcraft mentor, I'm here for one-on-one mentorship work as well. You can always contact me at thatwitchnextdoor.com/conjurethatwitch, and we can talk. I hope you can already see that I'm definitely a no pressure gal. If I'm right for you and it works out, I'll give you the information and we'll work together. And I would be absolutely honored to do so. And if not for literally any reason, that's okay too, my neighbor. Thank you so much for your time today and every day. I can't wait till I get to see you again next time. Make sure that until then, you are staying safe, you're letting yourself have some fun, and of course, stay magical out there. Did you get something valuable out of today's show? Here's how you can help continue to grow our magic. First, you can head over to Apple or Spotify and leave a 5-star rating and review. You can also share a shout out on your social media page and make sure you tag me at thatwitch.nextdoor. And of course, you can just tell a friend that you think would enjoy the show and send them a link to the episode. Thank you so much, neighbor, for your support. I'll see you next time.